Motor cars. It is September 15th and autumn is looking over our shoulder. Quite a few birthdays and anniversaries this weekend. Starting off with the birthdays. On the 15th, William Evans, who's in Toyota sales. On the 17th, Elmer Kostelik, who's a Honda tech and our mobility service manager. Anniversaries. On the 15th, Vince Traharn, who is a Honda sales manager. Jamil Brabson, who's a Toyota valet. And then on the 17th, we have Joe Bensaveni, who's in Honda sales. Elmer Kostelik again in Honda. And let's see, Ray Richards, who is in Toyota sales. So happy birthday and happy anniversary to one and all. Today I thought I'd talk a little bit about the opioid crisis, partly because Ohio is often portrayed as ground zero and partly because it has personal connections for me. Now, don't take anything I'm about to say as medical advice, whatever you do. I'm not a doctor, and I don't even play one on TV. These are just a few factoids that I've picked up over time, along with some ideas that are mine alone, not necessarily motor cars. First, some facts. The United States and New Zealand are the only two countries on Earth that allow drug companies to market directly to consumers. The only two. Between 2000 and 2010, the number of opioid prescriptions in the United States quadrupled. In 2012, that meant 259 million prescriptions, enough for every single adult in the country to get a bottle. Along with heroin, opioids include oxycodone, hydrocodone, codeine, morphine, and fentanyl, and I'm sure a few others that I'm not familiar with. Roughly 1 out of 4 people who take an opioid, even a legal one, become addicted. Almost 3 million of us are addicted to legally prescribed opioids. That's 4 times as many people as there are heroin addicts. Speaking of which, today 4 out of 5 heroin addicts start out as users of legally prescribed opioids and move to heroin because it's cheaper. That actually happened a year ago to my best friend, the fellow who was the best man at my wedding. He was the victim of a botched operation to remove his spleen and was prescribed an opioid to dull the pain. He later died of a heroin overdose. Deaths due to accidental overdose now outnumber deaths due to traffic accidents in this country. Think about that. The number 1 cause of death is accidental overdose. Whoever thought that would happen? Especially those of us who grew up in the time of just say no. Over the last 2 years, every time I go to the periodontist, I'm offered 2 prescriptions, one for a regular painkiller and one for an opioid, even though I always turn both down. I tolerate pain pretty well, and I've always thought that treating a toothache with what's essentially heroin was overkill. I also noticed now that I'm over 50, my doctor offers me prescriptions for Viagra and Adderall every time I see him, even though I don't have any conditions that warrant those prescriptions. So I think part of the issue is simply that we're being overprescribed, partly by doctors who either cave into those of us who've seen something on a TV commercial and ask our doctor, or because they make a little money doing so, and partly because drug companies maybe have too little oversight, and they're actually pushing drugs for things that they're not originally planned for. But I also read something else that disturbed me. Several studies suggest that even if we clamp down on advertising, prescriptions, and drug company regulations, the same number of people are likely to die. They'll just find another way to get there. As evidence of that, the number of people who drink themselves to death in the United States is at an all-time high. Suicides for people without a college degree have skyrocketed nationwide. This is largely due to a long-term pattern of stagnating wages for those who don't pursue education into adulthood, and it's been climbing for about 40 years now. Luckily, we live in an area and are part of an industry that promotes continuing education. The more we learn, the more valuable and skilled we become, and the more we earn. The American dream. But it's not just about economics. In the cloistered bustle of 21st century life, it's easy to lose ourselves in all of the demands on our time and attention. We forget to do the things that we enjoy and that help us build a strong network of friends and family that we can talk with and vent to. That's what Facebook is for, right? Especially in these days when we have a tendency to drop friends who don't agree with us for some reason, it's more important than ever that we become social and not just online. So if you're in a position that offers classes, webinars, conferences, and whatnot, take them. If not, sign up for a class or 2 at your local community college, or something going on at your local library or your community center. If that's not your thing, join the choir at your church, your temple, or your mosque. Ask Brian Zent which local charities need some help, because there are always local charities that need help. Volunteer at your kid's school. Sign up for guitar lessons. Get involved in a political campaign so you're not just shouting from the sidelines. In a nutshell, don't shrink. Grow. We need you, and so does everybody else. Have a great weekend, Motorcars.